Every few months, someone writes a blog post asking whether Rust can replace Python for AI and machine learning. And every few months, the Python community dunks on it and moves on. But here is what those discussions usually miss. The question is not whether Rust will replace Python for writing Jupyter notebooks or training research models. It will not. Python is too deeply embedded in AI research for that to happen. The real question is what is already happening quietly underneath Python's feet, and that story is much more interesting. Hugging Face Tokenizers, the library used to pre-process text for almost every major language model, is written in Rust. Pydantic, which validates data in basically every modern Python API, written in Rust. Polars, which is rapidly replacing pandas in production data pipelines, written in Rust. The inference engine Cloudflare built to run Llama 3 at the edge, also written in Rust. Rust is not replacing Python in AI. Rust is replacing the C and C++ code that Python has always depended on for performance, and that shift is already happening at scale. So in this video, I want to do 3 things. First, explain honestly what Python's actual limitations are in AI workloads. Second, show you the Rust AI ecosystem, the frameworks and libraries that exist right now with real working code. And third, give you a clear picture of where Rust is genuinely useful versus where it is still not ready. Let's get into it. Before we dive in, I want to talk about Aarambh Dev Hub's partner, CodeCrafters, and this one I actually mean it when I say it is a good one. If you have been watching Aarambh Dev Hub for a while, you already know that we are all about understanding how things actually work under the hood. Not just using tools, but truly understanding them. Why does Redis work the way it does? How does Git actually store your commits? What is really happening when you type a command in your shell? CodeCrafters is built around exactly that same curiosity. CodeCrafters is a platform where you rebuild real developer tools from scratch. Things like Git, Redis, a shell, an HTTP server, a DNS server, a BitTorrent client, you actually build them yourself, stage by stage, in your own language. Every stage unlocks the next, and you can see exactly how far along you are as you go. Now the most popular language on CodeCrafters is Rust, and that makes total sense for this channel. If you're just getting started with Rust and want to learn it the right way, this is honestly one of the best approaches out there. Instead of reading theory or doing small exercises that go nowhere, you sit down and build something real. Something you have actually heard of. Something that exists in the real world. And that is when Rust really starts to click. This is not your typical tutorial platform where you just watch someone else code and feel like you learned something. You are the one writing the code. You are the one debugging it. You are the one making it pass each stage. That kind of active, hands-on learning is what actually makes you a better systems programmer, and I will be honest. It is genuinely a lot of fun. The challenges are used by engineers at companies like Google, Meta, and Shopify. And if your company has a learning and development budget, there is a very good chance CodeCrafters is covered under it, meaning it could cost you absolutely nothing out of pocket. Worth checking with your manager before you pay yourself. The link is in the description below. Check it out, and if you do sign up through it, you also directly support Aarambh Dev Hub, so thank you in advance if you do. Alright, now let us get into the video. Python has dominated AI and machine learning for a decade, and there are very good reasons for that. The ecosystem is unmatched. PyTorch, TensorFlow, scikit-learn, Hugging Face, the tooling available in Python for machine learning is years ahead of every other language. The research community writes Python. The papers come with Python code. If you want to implement the latest transformer architecture the day a paper drops, you are doing it in Python. But as AI workloads have grown from research experiments to production systems handling millions of requests, Python's weaknesses have become expensive in real ways. The first problem is the GIL, the global interpreter lock. Python's runtime only allows one thread to execute Python code at a time. For CPU-bound tasks like data preprocessing, feature engineering, or post-processing model outputs, this means you cannot truly parallelize across multiple CPU cores using threads. You can work around it with multiprocessing, but that has its own overhead and complexity. To be fair, Python 3.14 introduced a free-threaded mode that removes the GIL. But there is a catch. As of early 2026, Many C extensions, including some widely used ML libraries, automatically re-enable the GIL when loaded because they were not written for free threading compatibility. So even with Python 3.14t, you may still hit GIL limitations depending on what you import. The second problem is memory overhead. Python objects carry significant metadata. Every integer, every list, every custom object has Python's object header attached to it. For a research script processing a few gigabytes of data, this is invisible. For a production pipeline processing terabytes or running on edge hardware with constrained memory, it becomes a real constraint. The third problem is deployment complexity. A Python inference service means managing a virtual environment, dependency versions, Docker containers that are often hundreds of megabytes, startup time, interpreter overhead. Rust compiles to a single static binary. You can bundle your model weights, preprocessing logic, and HTTP server into one executable that starts in milliseconds and uses a fraction of the memory. These are not hypothetical concerns. They are the reasons real teams are making the decisions they are making in 2026. If this is giving you a clearer picture of where AI and Rust intersect, hit the like button. It helps this video reach more developers. Subscribe if you want more content like this every week. Let's keep going. Let me give you a real map of what exists in the Rust AI and ML ecosystem right now, because I think most people either overstate how mature it is or completely dismiss it. There are four main areas: deep learning frameworks, data processing, inference, and Python interoperability. Each area has a different maturity level and a different use case. Starting with deep learning frameworks. There are two main ones worth knowing in 2026. Burn is a deep learning framework written entirely in pure Rust. It is backend-agnostic. It can run on CPU, NVIDIA GPU via CUDA, AMD GPU via ROCm, Apple GPU via Metal, Vulkan, and even Web GPU for browser-based inference. The same code runs everywhere by switching the backend. Burn version 0.15.0 in 2026 achieves about 98% of PyTorch's training performance on CPU and about 92% on GPU for standard model architectures. The training infrastructure is comprehensive. It includes a training loop, metrics, logging, checkpointing. Think of it as the PyTorch of Rust, written from scratch. Candle is Hugging Face's Rust deep learning framework. It takes a completely different approach, minimalist, focused on inference, designed to be fast and deployable rather than flexible for research. Candle can run Llama, Mistral, Whisper, and dozens of other models. It integrates directly with Hugging Face's Model Hub and supports the SafeTensors format. For deploying a language model in a Rust service, Candle is currently the most production-ready option. For classical machine learning, things like linear regression, random forests, k-means clustering, SVM, there is Linfa. Linfa is the scikit-learn of Rust. It provides a consistent API across algorithms and works well for the cases where you do not need deep learning. For data processing, and this is where Rust is already winning in production, there is Polars. Polars is a data frame library written in Rust with Python bindings. It uses lazy evaluation, which means it looks at your entire query plan before executing, optimizing steps the way a 6-quill query planner would. Pandas executes eagerly, line by line. The performance difference for large datasets is not marginal. Let me show you Polars because this is the clearest example of Rust already winning in AI data pipelines, and most data scientists are using it without even knowing it is Rust underneath. First, the Python side. This is how you would use Polars from Python. This looks like Pandas, but the execution model is completely different. The scan CSV is lazy. It does not read the file yet. The filter, groupie, ag, and sort operations are added to a query plan. When you call collect, Polars looks at the entire plan, optimizes the execution order, reads only the columns it needs, and executes everything in parallel using all your CPU cores. No GIL. No per row Python overhead. Pure Rust execution. The performance difference on large datasets is significant. For ETL operations on data in the hundreds of megabytes to gigabyte range, Polars regularly runs 10 to 100 times faster than equivalent Pandas code. That number comes up in benchmarks consistently. Now let me show you something more advanced, running a trained PyTorch model in Rust for inference. This is the Python for training, Rust for production pattern that is becoming very common in 2026. The workflow is, train your model in Python with PyTorch, export it to ONNX format, which is an open model exchange format, then load and run it in Rust using the ORT crate, which provides ONNX runtime bindings. Let me explain each dependency. The ORT crate provides Rust bindings to ONNX runtime, the most widely used cross-platform ML inference engine. The CUDA feature enables GPU acceleration. And array gives us n-dimensional arrays similar to NumPy in Python. The Tokenizers crate is actually Hugging Face's Rust Tokenizers, yes, the same library that powers Python's transformers. We are using the Rust version directly. Let me walk through the key parts of this code. The environment is the ORT runtime context. We wrap it in arc because it gets shared across sessions. The with name call just gives it a label for debugging. The session builder is where we configure inference. With optimization level, all tells ONNX runtime to apply every graph optimization it knows about: constant folding, node fusion, memory layout optimization. This can make inference significantly faster. With intrathegans 4 says use 4 threads for operations within a single inference call. With model from file loads the ONNX model from disk. The inputs array on the session tells you exactly what shape and type of data the model expects. The outputs array tells you what it produces. This is determined by the model itself. In run inference we convert the ND array to a value that ORT understands, call session run with a vector of inputs, and extract the output tensor back to a plain vec of floats. This pattern training in Python, deploying in Rust with ONNX, gives you the best of both worlds. You keep the full PyTorch ecosystem for experimentation. You deploy with Rust's memory efficiency, single binary packaging, and zero Python overhead for production. Now let me show you burn for a case where you want to stay entirely in Rust. This is useful for embedded targets, WebAssembly, or when you genuinely cannot bring Python into your production environment. The NDArray feature uses Burn's CPU backend. For GPU, you would use the WGPU feature for cross-platform GPU support, or CUDA for NVIDIA specifically. One cargo toml change is all it takes to switch backends. The model code stays the same. This is genuinely PyTorch-like if you have used PyTorch before. The module-derived macro automatically handles parameter registration, serialization, and device management. The backend generic means the same network code works across every Burn backend without any changes. Simple network has 2 linear layers with a ReLU activation between them. The forward method just chains them. Tensor operations, matrix multiplication inside the linear layer, element-wise ReLU, are dispatched to whatever backend you chose in cargo toml. The no-std support in Burn is also worth mentioning. Burn's core can run on bare metal embedded devices without an operating system. If you need to deploy a small neural network on a microcontroller or an IoT sensor, this is increasingly possible in Rust in a way that Python simply cannot match. Now let me talk about PyO3, because this is the technology that makes the Rust powers Python AI story work in practice. PyO3 lets you write Rust code and expose it as a Python module. You write the performance-critical parts in Rust, compile them to a shared library, and import them in Python just like any other module. This is how Hugging Face Tokenizers, Polars, and Pydantic are all built. The cdylib crate type tells Cargo to build a shared library that Python can load. PyO3 version 0.22 is the current stable version. Rayon gives us easy parallel iteration. This is what lets us bypass the GIL entirely. Let me explain what is happening here. The PyFunction attribute tells PyO3 to generate the Python bindings for that function automatically. The function takes Python native types, vec of f64 maps to a Python list of floats, and returns them. Inside parallel normalize we use Rayon's par-iter to process the data across all CPU cores in parallel. This bypasses the GIL entirely because we are in Rust code. The entire computation, sum, variance, normalization, happens in pure Rust threads that Python knows nothing about. From Python's perspective, it just called a function and got a result back. The batch cosine similarity function computes cosine similarity for hundreds or thousands of vector pairs simultaneously. In Python with a for loop, this would be slow. With PyO3 and Rayon, it uses all your CPU cores and is typically 20 to 50 times faster than equivalent pure Python for large batches. You build this with the Maturin tool, cargo install Maturin, and then Maturin develop installs it into your current Python environment. After that in Python you just write. No configuration, no special setup, just a regular Python import. If you are building anything with Rust and AI and want to discuss approaches, architecture, or just share what you're working on, come join the Discord. The link is in the description. We run a weekly study group on Sundays, and it is a great place to learn with other Rust developers actively building things. Let me give you the genuinely honest answer, because I have seen both extreme takes online, and neither is right. Rust will not replace Python for AI research. The research community is in Python. Papers come with Python code. PyTorch is Python. The entire experimentation loop, define model, run training, check results, adjust hyperparameters, run again, is built around Python's interactivity. No amount of Rust performance changes that, but the statement Python for research, Rust for production is not a prediction anymore. It is already describing how the best engineered AI systems work in 2026. Hugging Face Tokenizers are in Rust because preprocessing speed matters at scale. Polars is replacing pandas in production pipelines because data processing speed directly impacts pipeline throughput and infrastructure costs. Candle is running language model inference in Rust at Cloudflare's edge because startup time and memory footprint matter when you are running on thousands of edge nodes. Burn is running in embedded systems and WebAssembly because Python simply cannot. The pattern that is emerging is this. Use Python to prototype, experiment, and train. Use PyO3 to move hot paths to Rust without leaving Python. Use ONNX plus the ORT crate to take production inference fully into Rust. Use Burn or Candle when you need to go somewhere Python fundamentally cannot. Edge, embedded, WebAssembly. For you as a developer watching this in 2026, the practical implication is clear. If you are a data scientist or ML engineer who wants to work on production systems rather than just research, understanding Rust and knowing when to reach for it is increasingly valuable. You do not need to know Rust to use Polars or Hugging Face Tokenizers. You are already using Rust whether you know it or not. But if you want to build the next generation of inference infrastructure, edge AI systems, or high-performance data pipelines, Rust is where that work is happening. If this channel has helped you understand Rust and where it fits in the modern AI landscape, you can support the work by buying me a coffee. The link is in the description below. Every supporter makes it possible to keep building these projects and making these videos. Thank you genuinely to everyone who has already. That is the full picture of Rust and AI ML in 2026. We covered Python's actual GitIL and memory limitations, the Rust AI ecosystem with Burn, Candle, Linfa, and Polars, real working code for ONNX inference in production using ORT, a full deep learning model in Burn with backend-agnostic code, and PyO3 for writing Rust extensions that Python calls seamlessly. The answer to can Rust replace Python for AI is no, and that is the wrong question. The right question is, where is Rust already making Python AI better? And the answer to that is everywhere that performance matters in production. If this gave you clarity on how these two languages fit together, hit the like button. It helps this video reach more developers and takes 2 seconds. Subscribe if you want more content like this every week. Drop a comment. Are you using Polars? Have you tried PyO3? Or are you building something with Burn or Candle? I read every comment. Check out the Gupti series for deep Axum and Leptos work, and the Ajaya series for systems-level Rust. Both linked in the description. Join the Discord community, link below. And if you want to support the channel, buy me a coffee, also in the description. Thanks for watching, and happy coding.